It's all about surviving this time of year, and the Dallas Stars have done a fantastic job of that without Miro Heiskanen and Jason Robertson. Now it's about delivering the knockout blow, and the Stars' depth can help them do it.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Survive in advance. Survive in advance. That's the name of the game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Stars have done an excellent job of that in this series against the Avalanche. And now a chance to deliver the knockout punch tomorrow night in Game 6 in Denver to move on. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I hope everybody's staying safe on this Wednesday. It's absolutely pouring in the DFW Metroplex. I hope nobody's dealing with hail or any of that mess either. But we're here to talk some Dallas Stars hockey, and I think we need to praise Dallas a bit in this opening segment for what the Stars have been able to accomplish so far. And it's still not over. This is not the ultimate goal for Dallas, but without two of their top three, let's be safe, top five players not in their lineup, and the Stars having a 3-2 series lead against a team with McKinnon and Lehkonen, Necas, Makar, you name it, is pretty remarkable. And a lot of that has to do with head coach Pete DeBoer, and I've been critical of Pete throughout this season. Obviously, the Stars had to deal with a lot of injuries, but I wasn't too keen on what the Stars were doing the final month of the season. I thought Pete and the coaching staff really needed to find a way to turn things around, but they've done that now at the most important time in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And when you just sit back a bit, see it from a bird's eye view, Dallas being up 3-2 in this series is remarkable. And they have done a fantastic job of going after Colorado. And this dates back even to the last series against the Avs. I think we have to give Pete DeBoer a lot of credit for how he game plans each and every game against Colorado, how he approaches McKinnon, Makar, and company. You see it in game one. Stars played okay, one of their better games in a long time, but they still lost 5-1. They come back in game two, got better as the game wore along, and they were able to win in overtime. Then in game three, they were all over Colorado, in my opinion, for really the last couple of periods and overtime. I know they were trailing for most of the game, and I know a lot has been made out of Dallas trailing a ton and they haven't led. It's a bunch of hooey. Stars are up 3-2 in the series. And look, it's not a recipe for success to be playing from behind. I get that, but it's not like Dallas was playing from behind and playing like they were in the final month of the regular season, where they're just getting absolutely dominated. And there's been some games in this series that have been that way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to give you this false illusion. And maybe I am too optimistic and too nice about the Stars at this point. I just did not see this coming in a lot of ways. I did not see Dallas competing the way they have against Colorado without two of their better players. But as I've stated multiple times during this series, I think the Stars' depth is better, and that's what is carrying them. And we'll get to that in a bit as well. But to get back to the original point, Pete DeBoer and company have done a fantastic job from game 2 to game 3, where they really mucked it up. And then in game 5, the offense explodes. They have found ways to win different styles of games in this year. Game 5, really physical and nasty. And I'm on the record. I like the way Dallas is going about their business. And no, I'm not endorsing anybody to hurt anybody. I'm not endorsing any of the cross checks to the back of the head. I know that one's been brought up with rope hens, and no, I don't like that. I don't endorse it, but at the same time, I like Dallas playing physical and nasty a bit and a little dirty. I'm sorry. You don't think Florida did that last year? Come on. This is the Stanley Cup playoffs. Sometimes you have to cross the line, and Dallas has shown the ability to do that. Bischel's been awesome, by the way. But I almost chuckled last night too, because look, the numbers are not necessarily dazzling for Dallas in the series. I just chuckled looking at the plus minus for both teams, and Dallas is minus 15 as a team, and Colorado's plus 12. And Dallas has the 3-2 series lead. And I sort of said this after game 4 a bit, and game 1. I had a lot of people come after me after game 4 because I really tried not to overreact about how Dallas played in that game. It was probably mostly Avs fans that were going after me in the comment section, but Dallas continues to show its strength with their depth. And look, some of the numbers are not dazzling. As I mentioned, the plus minus numbers, which I think is a great indicator of why that stat isn't great. But at the end of the day, I mentioned this too. The Avs won 4-0. They won 5-1. Dallas won 6-2. It really doesn't matter at this stage of the game to some degree. Who cares how much you win by? It's one game and you move on. And I think from game 4 to game 5, you can see that. Like, who cares? And yes, Colorado dominated Dallas in game 4, and the Stars responded. And that's just sort of been the series. And I hope I'm not out here selling Dallas has been the better team by a mile. I think they're just better by just a smidge. And that's saying something without Miro, Heiskanen, and Jason Robertson. It's pretty remarkable. And I think the coaching staff's done a wonderful job at going into each and every game, realizing it's going to be different. And yes, they're making some mistakes here or there, but for the most part, it's been incredible stuff. And you can look at some of the point numbers as well, the possession numbers, right? The Corsi for percentage is something we look at quite a bit. This is via natural stat trick at 5-on-5. Colorado 58%, Dallas 41%. The goals at 5-on-5 are rather similar, though. Colorado has 9, Dallas has 8, so pretty similar there. The expected goals number, goals for percentage, Colorado 52%, Dallas 47%. Colorado's outchancing Dallas at 5-on-5 pretty heavily, 144-107. And we sit here with all that being said, and Dallas is still up in the series, and they're just surviving a bit. But it's not surviving like the Calgary series from, well, that's even 5 years ago now, maybe. It's pretty crazy how far away that's been. That Calgary series where they really were just hanging on for dear life in a lot of these games. I haven't seen that a ton in this series. There's been some of that. We've seen that. But I mentioned this after game 5 a bit too. Dallas just doesn't feel like a team, and they're not. I don't even know if feeling's the right word. They're just not a team where they can shut down the opposition for an entire period like we saw last year a bit. And I had a quick engagement with one of you wonderful listeners, Locked On Stars, in the comments about how with Tanev and Miro, of course, Dallas was really able. They could just shut down the opposition if they wanted to, because they had the personnel to do it and they were built the right way. Dallas just doesn't have that makeup right now. They're going to have to outscore you a bit, and that's where their depth comes into play. And their defense has done just good enough. They've done good enough. Will that be able to hold throughout the entire postseason? That's a big question, and usually a question that ends up being the demise of Dallas every postseason, it feels like the last few years, although the offense and power play has a lot to do with that as well. But the defense is doing enough. They're doing just enough. And the offense is doing just enough as well. And it hasn't been an offensive explosion every night. They finally got 6 goals or 5 plus an empty netter, but it counts as one. And now they have to try to finish him off in 6 games. But I know there's a lot of you too that were in the comments thinking the Stars have no chance. This is a sweep. This is a 5 games. And some of you have had to eat crow. I thought Miro was going to be back by this time. I really did. That was one of the key reasons why I picked the Stars in 7. I felt game 5, maybe the latest, Miro comes back. And Dallas, if they could get through the first 4 like they did, even at 2 games apiece, that could be the difference. And look, Colorado, to some degree, some of their big boys haven't shown up either. I completely understand that. They need some more out of their personnel. But I just think Dallas and their group have made an impact on this series for the most part. And look, I know Rantanen, his last game was the big offensive output, and he had 3 points or whatever. But let's also not just gloss over the fact that Rantanen's been really good for a large part of this series. And again, do not get blinded by points. I encourage you to not be blinded all the time, but I also agree they have to score, but don't get blinded because Rantanen doesn't have over a point per game, or Rope or Johnston. Like, they're doing a lot of good things, and that's not always going to show up. We can't fall into that trap a bit because look at Makar. I've seen a lot of Habs fans going after Makar because, well, he had 30 plus goals in the regular season. Like, that's awesome. Makar does a lot more than just scoring, and he's had, I think, a really good, a damn good series. Yes, could he hit the net a bit more? Absolutely. Could he pitch in offensively a bit more? Yes. But Makar hasn't been awful in the series. Defensively, look, he leaves a little bit to be desired. I think that's to be fair. And that's why I always say I'll take Miro over that, because he can impact the game whether he's scoring or not. And sometimes we get caught in that trap, like Rantanen and others, Rope, doing a really fantastic job playing 200 feet. And I know it doesn't show up in the stat sheet all the time, his back checks and the amount of, pass breakups he gets. That should start being a stat recorded, pass breakups, stuff like that. I think that would be interesting just to see how guys are impacting the game. And I think you could go up and down. Well, I think, this guy's done a lot of good things in this series. And I think we have to praise him a bit for that. And look, I don't mean to say you have to be a hunky-dory about everything. The series is far from over. Not trying to write the eulogy of Colorado, but Dallas is in a good spot right now. They got to win 1 of 2. So let's finish it off, right? Let's finish it off. Now the depth conversation. So I had a lot of people come after me after game 4. I may need to clarify some of my statements. So we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team, diving into player props, from three-pointers, steals, assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. And it's not just the NBA. It's the NHL. It's MLB. So many different ways for you to play. Download it on your smartphone. It takes 30 seconds. The FanDuel app is free. Get in on the action. Get in with FanDuel. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com. Claim $250 in bonus bets today. I did want to share this little nugget with you from Michael Dixon, pre- and post-game show host, intermission host on 96.7 The Ticket, because I found this really fascinating since Dallas and Colorado have 2 days off again before their next game. It's the third time, maybe second time in the series, but the extra days off have really benefited Colorado. So Stars fans, beware. Colorado had 5 days off to game 1, since when they ended the regular season, they had 5 days off. So more than 2+ days rest. Out-attempted Dallas 58-36, 5v5. They won 5-1. Then you had the 2 days off from game 3 to game 4. Colorado out-attempted Dallas 87-38, 5v5. Expected goals 4.57 to 1.24. And of course, Colorado won 4-0. So the 2-day breaks have certainly benefited Colorado, it seems. And now Dallas is going to have to try to hold serve here. So hopefully that doesn't make you too negative, but wanted to throw that nugget out there because it may be something, it may be not, but it may be something. So the depth conversation, since I had a lot of people come after me in the game 4 reaction episode, and again, this could have been Colorado fans to some degree that are trickling over. I'm not trying to make the point that Colorado doesn't have depth. They obviously have depth. I think you may be missing the point. And look, you can still disagree with me on this point. I just think Dallas's depth has been more impactful than Colorado's in this series. And I know I've made a lot out of McKinnon and Makar, but I'm sorry. This is just what I'm seeing. You completely disagree. And I know O'Connor's been great too. And I've given him his praise. He's been phenomenal. But I think when you look, I think you can even look at some of just the number. Like, it's a pretty big drop off from the McKinnon line to the next closest line for expected goals for at 5v5. McKinnon's line's over 3 goals expected. The next closest is I think it's a 4th line, Drury, O'Connor, Kelly at 1.99. It's a big drop off. And look, McKinnon plays a ton. That has something to do with it too. And again, I'm not trying to say Colorado doesn't have depth. I think Dallas's depth has been more impactful in the series. And you can disagree with me, okay? You could still think I'm off my rocker, and that's fine. But I'm not trying to make the point Colorado doesn't have depth. But you look at guys like Coyle, and I've seen this thrown around. Coyle hasn't done a ton. Brock Nelson hasn't done a ton. I think you can look at a lot of guys, but like Drew Rand hasn't done. I know he has 3 assists, but I don't really recall a phenomenal play he's made. The one play that kind of stands out to me is the one where Rantanen stripped him in game 3 to set up the overtime winner for Sagan, right? So again, I'm not trying to make the point Colorado's doesn't have depth, and at the same time, I think I've given Colorado a lot of credit. Even after game 4, like they completely dominated Dallas, and I think they've been unfazed in a lot of ways. Like Dallas has thrown a lot at them at times, and where I think in situations where Dallas may buckle, like Colorado just keeps humming, and they are cockroach to some degree. They're not going away, and Dallas is sort of out cockroaching them as well. they're just hanging in there, and that sort of leads me back to the point. If you're an Avs fan, you look at a lot of numbers, you're like, it's really good. It's really good, but I just find that Dallas's depth is carrying them a bit, and for them to get through 4 games without Rantanen having a big impact offensively, Wyatt Wright, a lot of different players, you could kind of go around like, okay, they haven't really popped off, and Pete DeBoer mentioned that it's time for them to show up, and they did. To be through 4 games tied is awesome. That was a really, really good spot. And I think you just have to credit a lot of different player. Like I think Dodonov's been great in this series. He's a +2. He's one of the few guys that's in the positive department. Harley's been phenomenal. I think you just go down the list. Sagan, 56% on the dot. Of course, he has the big overtime winner. Scored a power play goal in game 2. Marchment, he's gone over the line a bit, but for the most part, he's doing Mason Marchment things. Jamie Benn, a goal and assist. Thought he's played hard. He's played physical. Hasn't been great in the dots. He's actually getting dummied a bit, 38%. That's pretty crazy for Ben. Granlund even just 1 assist, right? So there's more that Dallas can ask out of some of their guys as well. But I've just been really impressed. Okay, and I know this is me just sitting here and praising Dallas the whole time. And they could lose the final 2 games, and then I'm here moaning after the series. But it's I think just you look at some of the fourth line guys like Blackwell have made an impact in this year. Score the big overtime. Like I think the Stars have just had moments. Oscar Beck's been really good. Bischel, Petrovic, right? Petrovic, they're defenseman that played the entire year in the AHL has been serviceable. I think that says a lot about Matt Dumba, but that's a conversation for the offseason at this point. Labushkin's been pretty good. Someone I have been disappointed in has probably been Maverick Bourque. I just, for whatever reason, I was pretty bullish on Bourque and what he could do in the playoffs, and we haven't really got a lot out of him in the 2 games he did play. Steele, Blackwell been just so damn good for Dallas, and Beck, I don't see how you can take him out of the lineup. So Bourque's going to be the odd man out for now. But I was hoping a bit more from him. And maybe it's really one of the few guys I feel like I could say that, and Duchesne to some degree too. Just one point. I mentioned that I thought he was going to be like maybe the MVP of the Stars postseason run this season, just a pretty lackluster one a season ago. And of course there's still time for him to have an impact. And well, he didn't show up a lot last year, but when he did, it was game 6 double overtime to deliver the finishing dagger. But I just think you go up and down the roster and you think of these impacts. And also, like, hand up, I know I'm not watching Colorado from this perspective all the time, and I'm sure an Avs fan could go through and be like, okay, this is what this guy's done, and that's completely fair. But Nichushkin, Coyle, just a combined 2 point. Nelson combined 4 points. Like, it's I know Val had the goal in game 3. Haven't seen him a ton, and the power play has a lot to do with that too. Colorado hasn't been great. I think that's another battle Stars have done so damn well at. They have befuddled the Colorado power play, which is as lethal as can be. Also, I think Colorado's not helping themselves out, but you have to give Dallas credit for what they've done on the PK. Steele, Ceci, Lindell, Beck, Rope, just really, really incredible stuff down a man in the series. They've given up 3 power play goals, and 2 of them should really not have gone in. You have to also highlight that part of the Stars game. They're winning in a lot of small areas. And I know the overall numbers don't necessarily favor Dallas. Sort of brings me back to the first segment. The overall numbers aren't overwhelmingly in favor of Dallas. They're not at all at 5-on-5. But you look at just some of the little pockets of each game and just some of those areas. They're winning some of those battles, and they're doing just enough. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing for Dallas. And my goodness, I hope we get through it. And then you get Robo back and Miro back at some point, and then it's all tails ablazing, so to speak, from there. Okay, we did have some updates from practice today on a Wednesday. Some interesting stuff I wanted to share with you in just a moment. We had some updates from Sam Nestler of DLLS Stars, of course, from practice this morning in Denver. Some interesting things transpired, so I wanted to share those with you. By the way, Miro Heiskanen progressing without restrictions. He will travel again to Colorado. Practicing in Dallas, not Denver. They were in Dallas this morning. So Miro is traveling. Who knows if he'll play? It's a guessing game. At this point, I'm not even going to try. Ilya Lyubushkin did miss practice, but it was just for maintenance. That was the update from Pete DeBoer. So Lyubushkin was not at practice, but that's for maintenance. Same power play units. I don't know if this means anything, but Heiskanen was working in with some of the power play units, but same units: Harley, Hintz, Duchesne, Ranson, and Johnston, Lindell, Ben, Sagan, Granlund, Marchment, your second power play unit. Practice lines are the same. Look, I've had some people come after me too. Maybe not come after, but I did have a conversation in the chat about, Dodonov and Ben playing with Johnston and how they're hindering Wyatt. And I do agree to some degree. Like I push back because really I think what sort of changed the series, game 3 was important. That really changed the series. But DeBoer flipping Rantanen and Granlund, or not Rantanen and Granlund, but Dodonov and Rantanen halfway through game 2, I think was a big move. And you can look at some of the numbers and the expected goals for the Johnston, Ben, Dodonov line, 1.42. 1.42. It's third on the Stars behind the Hintz line and Sagan line. But again, that's your third line. And I know there's some talk about maybe moving Wyatt up on that top line. That was a suggestion from one of the Locked On Stars listeners. And I agree to some degree. I do agree the premise of what he was getting at, that he's being hindered by Dodonov and Ben because they're really not great playmakers for Wyatt, and his 5-on-5 numbers have dipped. But Wyatt is so crucial as a center iceman for Dallas. Yes, they could load him up on that top line, but then you don't get to exercise that depth you have. And that's why it's important. Like Johnson's coming out of your 3-hole. And look, not every team is as deep as Dallas. And maybe that's where the depth conversation that I've gotten into is kind of crazy, because like Dallas has Wyatt Johnson coming out of their 3-hole. That's just kind of crazy. Like that's pretty great. But you look at 5-on-5, the Ben Johnson Dodonov line has 3 goals. That's the most for any other trio. I think they've been pretty good. I think they've been actually really, really good. I know Rantanen had the one big game, and you could say, well, it's just one game. Well, he was leading the Stars in on shots on goal and shooting attempts through the first 4 games of the series. So yeah, I know he's not scoring, but I think that showed you that he benefited from the line change. He benefited from being switched back to Hintz and Granlund, which I don't think he should have maybe ever been taken away. But they were trying to find something. Look, Robo being hurt in the last game of the season kind of threw a wrench into the plans. Dallas, I think, has just found comfortability in what they have. And I'll also give a bit of praise here to Pete DeBoer again. Dallas went through so many injuries during the season, so many different lineups, integrating different players. For the last month of the season, I know they were playing atrociously. They were playing bad. They did finally have some consistency to some degree. And of course, Robo getting hurt kind of stunk and threw a wet blanket on things. But Dallas is able to trot out a fairly consistent lineup right now. They know what they have in Hintz, Granlund, Rantanen. You got the Sagan line and you got the Johnson line. It's nice to have some stability and consistency now for I think Rantanen, number 1, who's had a whirlwind year. Give him a comfortable pairing, and everybody else knows how to play with one another. You can, of course, argue that they should change it up. It's not good enough, but it is consistent. And I think Dallas is going to err on that side of things. I think the coaching staff will, just having consistency up front. And I think that's good in a year that just has been not very consistent. But yes, anyways, bit of a tangent, but away from some of the updates, but it was and I think too, again, I think it's a great premise for an off-season conversation on how Wyatt maybe is not benefiting from Ben and Dodonov. And I think the Locked On Stars listener had a great little back and forth. He brought up a ton of great points. I mean, you can look at some of the numbers. You talk about Wyatt going through some struggles. And I think I've mentioned too, like Wyatt's having to do a lot, having to create a lot of his own looks on that line. Look, Stars have they have an embarrassment of riches, so to speak. They can't have everything. Okay. And I think that's why it's important. If Robo comes back, which is going to be hopefully next series, again, we can't count our chickens on that one, but if Robo comes back, Robo goes back on that top line. Granlund goes down with Ben and Johnston. I think that helps. And then Dodonov is on your fourth line. Now you're talking. Now it gives you some maybe some maybe more offensive paralysis, I guess, on a couple of those lines, if you're able to move everybody down a bit. So anyways, bit of a long conversation that I think will be interesting for the offseason too, when we look at things. Not that we need to get to the offseason anytime soon. I'm having a blast doing Stanley Cup playoff hockey. Anyways, yes, Lyubushkin not at practice, maintenance day. Everybody else looked to be in attendance, of course, without Jason Robertson. Miro will travel to Colorado. Maybe he finally gets in Game 6. We shall see. But that will do it for a jam-packed Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars. Hope you're able to get outside at some point. I know it's going to be pretty disgusting outside with the rain and all that good stuff. By the way, for those of you that are interested, if Dallas does happen to get out of Game 6 and finish it off, I encourage you to come out to the NYTEX Sports Center, North Richland Hills. Come watch the Ice Rays and Brahmas. If there's not a Game 7 on Saturday night, we play Friday and Saturday at 7:30. So maybe Friday, if you maybe want a precursor to Game 7, if we have one, it's a lot of fun. Maybe you could come say hi if you want. And I basically call the game in the stands. I'm right there. So I just encourage you come out, cheer on the Ice Rays, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, just kind of wanted to extend that invitation a bit as well. If you'd like to go, I think it'd be fun. Nothing wrong with some playoff hockey at any level. Anyways, that'll do it for me. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.